everybody to the Rodcast Mobile Podcast, where we have conversations with motivated people for the purpose of motivating people. I'm here with Karen. You said Chief Motivation Officer?
Chief Digital Officer.
Chief Digital Officer.
Yeah.
What do you like about your job, though?
My job is really about understanding customers' problems and then how can you use technology to solve people's problems. And so I really love solving people's problems.
Really?
Yeah.
How did you get into it, though?
It's a great question. I don't think I kind of fell into it. I was working at Intuit. They did TurboTax and other products like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the way the company worked. They really said, go out, understand your customer, watch how they work, and then come back and tell us the customer's biggest unsolved problems.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I did. I went out and I was working for Intuit, and I would go follow customers, talk to you about what it is to drive Uber, what you like, what you don't like, what works, what doesn't work, and
Mm-hmm.
that's how you design products.
And so, in doing that, you pretty much had to solve their problems.
Yes.
But it sounds like it's two problems in one, though, right?
It's often multiple problems. And so there's the first level problem, and then you dig deeper, you're like, well, why is that? Why do you do that? Or why don't you do that? And you're like, oh, well, it's actually this.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really about being curious and asking questions and getting people to open up and talk.
And how long you been doing it for?
I have been doing some version of this since I was probably 20-something years.
Okay. What about your job makes you passionate, what you said?
Yeah, so I think there are two sides to it. One, I really love doing work and solving customers' problems. Our job is about helping people pay and get paid, and it's about managing their money.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone cares about that. So that's a good thing. And then I lead large teams of people, and I have the opportunity to coach people and help them improve, and I get a lot of satisfaction from
Watching them succeed.
Yeah, watching people succeed and grow and change and learn.
No, I know exactly what you mean, doing sales and teaching people how to do sales. When you watch them struggle with something, you work with them, and then you see them successful at it, it makes you kind of feel good, though. What are some of the things that you faced, that were difficult in regards to coaching people?
I think one of the lessons I learned a long time ago, actually, was if you're not giving people feedback and giving them a chance to improve, it's actually not nice. And it can be hard to have a difficult conversation and say, hey, Craig, this isn't going well, or you could have done better in this meeting if you did X, Y, and Z. But if you don't tell them that, well, that's a hard conversation. It's not actually nice not to give them the chance to improve.
But how many chances do you give somebody?
That's a really good question.
Because I feel like there are people who you give them chance after chance and they just don't get it. And sometimes you gotta just tell people the answer. I get that, but then other times it's just even when you tell people the answer flat out, they still don't get it. So how do you know who to give more leeway with?
Yeah, that is a really good point. I think it's a judgment call. So I think everyone gets more than one chance, unless you do something terrible.
Mm-hmm.
But then I think it's really how people respond to it. And if they say, oh yeah, I hear you, how can I improve that? Or I went out and I listened to a podcast, or I researched that, or I talked to someone else, or here's what I tried, but it didn't work. And so for me, it's a lot about the attitude in which someone responds. If they're open to the feedback, if they're receptive, if they want to improve, then I'm happy to work with someone. If they don't try, then that tells me something about how our partnership will be going forward. And sometimes people try and they're not going to get there, and that's harder.
Okay.
But generally, if people are leaning in and taking the feedback and the coaching, then I keep working with them.
That's good, then. That's good. It sounds like you have a lot of patience, with the people that you work with.
I'm not sure that people would say that. I have a high bar and high standards, but it's like a football coach. They have a high bar, they want to win state championship, but you love working for the coach because they make you better.
Mm-hmm.
And they support you, they're your biggest cheerleader. So it's a combination of, yes, we're here to win, and we're going to be a team and work through it together.
Interesting. So you need a certain type of degree in order to have a position like you have?
I was a finance major and I use numbers in my job, but it's not really about the degree that I had. For me, I've always chosen jobs where I think I'm going to learn something, and I work for someone who I can learn something from.
Okay.
And so I don't worry as much about the title or the pay. I mean, it's important, but
Oh, definitely.
But what's more important to me is how is this going to help me grow, and what am I going to grow? How am I going to improve because of it? And I think I've gotten farther in my career, not because of the degree I had, but because I've really tried to take feedback and make sure that I'm always growing and always improving.
Sounds like also like you probably have moved far in your field because you weren't just asking, what can your company do for you, so to speak.
Yeah, I think that's another great point. I always, I try to come with a solution. Like, I see a problem, I'm like, hey, here's the problem. Here's how I think we could solve it.
Okay.
And it may or may not be the right answer, but it shows that I'm trying to be part of the solution. And I believe that if I do good things, if I do good work, if I put the work in, karma comes around. Like, good things will come to people who put effort in.
Mm-hmm. No, I can agree with that, though. I just feel like a lot of times nowadays, especially with jobs, people take a different approach to it. They think that the job is supposed to do everything for them, and it sounds like, or it looks like from your expression that you ran into that type of stuff from like some of the people who work for you.
I do, and generally, like, that's not the attitude that I like. Yeah, I think that we're going to win together as a team or lose together as a team.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's all about you and what you need as an individual, I don't get that team feeling, and that's...
So what conversation do you have with that person?
Yes.
Like anytime that happens?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where you have to be a straight shooter.
Mm-hmm.
And say, like, look, when you say this is how it comes across. There's a way of giving feedback. It's called situation, behavior, impact. It's like, hey, when you did this is what happened, and you made other people feel this way.
Mm.
And
because they might not be aware of it.
Yeah, they may not be aware, and no one may have told them that.
Like, they probably think what they did was perfectly normal.
Yeah, but no one's ever told you how can you improve. And so that's why I think, even though it's hard to have that conversation and say, hey, like, actually, the way you're showing up doesn't make people want to help you. It's my job as a friend and as a colleague, not even as a boss, but it's my job to help people, be aware of what they're doing that may be prohibiting them from being successful.
Okay. Now, like, in my business, like, we would do a lot of team things outside of work.
Yeah.
Go to bowling or, something along those lines. Do you guys do that too?
It's interesting because we're a remote company now. And so we have people all over the United States and all over the world. But we're based in Portland, Maine. And so we don't get together as a big team that often. And so I think the challenge is, how do you build those relationships and that team chemistry, that
when
trust,
you're not,
when you're remote?
So how do you do it?
It's such a good leadership challenge. So when we do get together, we really make the most of it. And so we go out to dinner, we go bowling, we go do scavenger hunt, or whatever the case may be. But then we also do things remotely. I've done remote happy hours where everyone grab water or beer, drink, whatever your choice is,
Mm-hmm.
and we just sit and talk on a Friday afternoon.
And you do it like through a Zoom?
You do it through a Zoom.
Oh, okay.
We've done icebreakers or breakouts, so I'll have a big team meeting and everyone breaks out into rooms of 5 or 6, and you play a game of what are 5 things that you have in common. We all have dogs. We've all gone to Hawaii. We've all,
So did you guys just become like this after COVID?
The company was primarily, for the people in the United States, was primarily in Portland prior to COVID. And as we were growing, we realized, one, people's attitudes and preferences are changing, and two, Portland's a fantastic city, but if we're 2.7 billion in revenue, 2.6 billion, like, it's a big company, and you can't get that many people in Portland. And so we really, to continue to grow, we knew we had to change the way we work.
Mm-hmm. Y'all don't schedule, like, annually our company will have like a leaders meeting here.
Yeah.
Y'all don't schedule anything like that?
Well, we do, so that's actually where I'm headed right now. So we're going to our annual sales meeting in Florida. And so the sales team is getting together, and then the leadership team and a group of other people. So we added a day to it, so the whole senior leadership team is getting together the first day and really investing in the relationships and building that trust with each other. So we do get together, but it's just not that frequent.
I see. I guess that's good too. That's good too.
It's super fun. I love the people I work with, and so it's a really great week.
Who would all right, so who would you say is the top 3 people that's like close to you in your life that like really motivated you or pushed you to even think this way with the mindset that you have currently?
I would say I don't think I was successful because I set a goal and said I want to be a chief whatever. Every job I had, I said I want to make an impact and do a really good job. And so my parents started by, I was a gymnast, and I did well in school, and they said, if you're going to do something, do it well. And so they motivated me, but they didn't ever say like, I want you to be a big businesswoman or anything. I had a woman who was my manager probably about 15, 18 years ago, and there was a position that opened up. I was a director, it was a VP position, and she said, I think you should apply for it. And I was like, really? I'm not sure. And she's like, I think you can do it. I think you should do it. And it was one of those pivotal points where someone was pushing me and encouraging me to think differently about myself and what I could do than what I believed. So she was incredibly influential in my life.
That's good too, and I'm glad that you brought that up, because I feel like a lot of times, especially in the business world, we got people who are over us, and they may make a suggestion like that. Well, maybe you should go out for this position. And where it comes from is they see something in you that you might not even necessarily see at first. And I think it's kind of tied to like imposter syndrome, I think it's called.
Yes.
And, but here's the thing, like I've learned that if your manager or your boss is trusting you to do something that you're not sure that you could do, then you questioning that is questioning, for one, their decision. But even more than that, I feel like it's like it should encourage you to realize that, all right, I might not can see it, but my manager sees it, so let me perform to the best of my ability so I don't let them down, at least.
I think a lot of people have a fear of failure, and I certainly did. I had 3 young kids and a mom of 3. I looked up to her. I didn't want to disappoint her. I wasn't sure if I could do it, and she said, you've got this. And I'm sure you'll make mistakes along the way, but they're not going to be fatal mistakes. You'll learn from them. You'll pivot. You'll change. You'll do something going forward. And I think that I would have regretted not taking the chance more so than I would have regretted if I took this job, applied for it, didn't get it, or made mistakes. And of course made mistakes. I think you just have to be careful that you don't let your inner monologue and your fear of failure hold you back from taking chances.
Yeah, it's funny you say that too. That's actually the reason why most people buy a product, because they fear of they can miss out by not getting it as opposed to getting it. It sounds like even with you were sold on the idea because you feared not doing it more than a failure, which I think is good too.
The opportunity was worth it, and recognizing success isn't a straight shot. It doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're in sales, if you're a football team, if you're a teacher, not every day is a good day. Not every day you put your best foot forward, but on the whole, you're making more forward progress than backwards progress, and I think that's the objective.
No, I can agree with that. So, what's next for you? I mean, you're not at the highest point of your business, are you? I mean, you can climb much higher, can't you?
I always can, I guess. I don't worry about it too much. As I said, I focus on doing a good job. What do I want to achieve this year? How do I want to grow? How do I want to challenge myself? And see what comes.
So you're not looking to take over and be CEO or anything?
If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't happen, I'm proud of what I've accomplished. And I always try to have a balance between having a
With your travel, do you find it hard to spend time with them?
I'm home more than I'm away. So
Okay.
I probably travel every 3 weeks. I take a trip, and I think it was harder when they were younger. Now they're doing sports or schoolwork or going out.
They're
and hanging out
active
with friends and
doing teenage stuff.
They're doing teenage stuff, and I'm happy for them.
That's wonderful.
So, when I'm home more than I'm not, and then I try to be there for the things that matter. I had a different boss that I worked for said, you know which balls are crystal and which balls are rubber. So
What does that mean?
So what moments are crystal? And if you don't go to it, that's a crystal ball, and it drops, it's going to shatter. If the ball is rubber, if that moment is rubber, it'll bounce back. And so we were talking about the guilt that you feel as a parent, and you're not there for everything for your kids. You miss a football game, or you miss the spelling bee, and some things, like, you got to prioritize. If they're crystal moments, you say, no, I've got to be there for it. But if it's a rubber moment, if it's a rubber ball, it's okay. And so I really think
like a graduation would be more crystal than
crystal.
A football game or something like that, because you can make another game maybe.
Yeah, and even for me today, like, I'm going a little bit later to this conference because I wanted to be back at my daughter's first game back after she got injured.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if it hadn't gone well, if she hurt herself again, like, I wanted to be there for it. So you know what, I'm gonna miss the happy hour tonight. I'm gonna be with everyone all week, but I'm gonna be there for my daughter. And fortunately, it all went well and no injuries, so it was a good thing. But I felt like it was something that I wanted to prioritize and be there. And so for me, it's making choices that balance and keep my happiness and fulfillment
On both sides of it. Yeah, because I feel like people put a lot of focus on just their family in regards to being happy with that, but just are miserable when they go to their jobs. And I feel like if you're that miserable, then just find another job. At that point,
miserable, I don't think you're in the right job or the right place or the right profession. I enjoy what I do, and I enjoy, as I said, I enjoy the people I work with. I enjoy making an impact, and it's part of who I am. And I think I like the fact that my kids can see that I enjoy my work and other people.
Are you able to actually show them what you do? Like, do they monitor your work to any degree, or monitor you at work?
Probably, because I work from home now, and so they just pop into my office at any point in time. And it's nice. Like, we've had, when my teams come into Dallas, they'll come over. I'll have people over to the house. We'll have Mexican food, margaritas, or whatever.
Oh, okay.
And have the kids interact with people that I work with and see that it's it's family of a sort.
Well, that's wonderful. Well, I mean, before I let you go, is there anything you wanted to add?
I think you hit the most important part. If you don't love what you do or like it more days than not, then you're probably not doing the right thing. And, if you're not growing, it's kind of boring. So I would say find something that you enjoy and find something that helps you improve.
That's great. That's wonderful. Well, it was great talking with you, Miss Karen. I appreciate that, and hopefully other people will find everything that you were talking about motivated. Please excuse the sound if you're having trouble hearing, but go ahead and watch it again. And you guys have a great evening.
Thank you. Yes, great questions.